We have a fun Week 3 matchup here as these two desperate teams, the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Minnesota Vikings, are fighting to not go 0-3. And to be honest, the Chargers, I definitely would not have expected to be 0-2. Honestly, I thought that they would be 2-0 at this point and rolling. Yeah. Minnesota definitely would have thought that they would have at least had won a game by now. They had two very close losses, both by one possession here. That's going to be kind of a storyline, I think, throughout Minnesota for this season, especially considering the season that they had last year as the Cardiac Kids. But want to kick off here. Super huge for both these teams to win this game. And unfortunately, neither one of them can. And the tie would be horrible also. So let's start off with the away team, Los Angeles Chargers. Just to kick off here, just kind of prime you, I think, for one of the things to really look out for. 666 yards in total passing yards allowed this season. They did have a pretty tough game against Miami Dolphins in week 1. That's kind of throwing that stat up there. But still, they are one of the worst passing defenses in the league. And even then, too, going up against Tennessee last week also, allowed for Ryan Tannehill, who shouldn't really have a good offensive game against any defense in the NFL. What do you think the Chargers have to do to stop Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson in week 3?
This is interesting because I don't know that they will be able to really stop them. For me, I think they'll just have to outscore them. And that to me is how they win this game, because this defense, granted, they went up against a running monster, and this is has been one of the worst run defenses in the last 3 seasons of the NFL in the Los Angeles Chargers. And so I don't really see that being a threat, especially with some of the injuries that the Vikings are having on the offensive line. But with that being said, I think Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson have been very good so far this year. And I just don't see them being able to consistently be able to stop that. And so for me, I think they'll just have to outscore them, turn this into a track meet and win. But I think that's the same thing for the Vikings as well, is they're going to have to just turn this into a track meet and outscore them and win that way, because this defense isn't very good. They got some good opportunities against Philadelphia, but I think those were more gifts from Jalen Hurts and this offense still being a little rusty, I think, after maybe an easy start to the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think after once they kind of figured things out in the second half, this defense didn't do a whole lot. So for me, I just think this is going to be a high-scoring matchup, and both these teams are just going to be trying to outscore the other.
Yeah. Well, I definitely agree with that. I think that one of the other things, too, that the Chargers could do is if you go look at total running yards allowed throughout the 2 weeks so far, and I know it's just been 2 weeks, but if you go and look, and also then to the Vikings that play the Eagles, who they're going to run over a lot of people, but they have given up 332 rushing yards so far in the first 2 games. Chargers had over 200 rushing yards against the Miami Dolphins in week 1. So I think that is definitely going to be something to watch, because the Vikings, just overall, this defense as a whole, I think, as you mentioned, very vulnerable as well. This is going to be a high scoring game. Vikings had opportunities and actually was doing decently well against the Eagles defense throughout the entire game. I was thinking about it after the Thursday Night Football a week ago, but if Justin Jefferson doesn't fumble the ball out of bounds at the end zone, questionable rule, in my opinion, in general, that's besides the point. Then the Eagles go down and score. And then on the first play of the second half, then the strip sack fumble, which then got them down. I believe that was made it 24-7, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, at that point. So in about a matter of 3 minutes of game time, it was about a 21-point swing. If my math is correct, just from Jefferson fumbling the ball to then the touchdown that the Eagles scored after Kirk Cousins sack fumble. All that being said, though, is they were competing against what we would all consider one of the top teams in the league, and I think that does give me a little more confidence. They were able to come back. Jordan Addison started to show himself a little bit more. He had a nice long touchdown and a couple of good catches as well during that drive. the thing for me is going to be is can that Vikings defense hang on over 4 quarters? They came out strong in the first quarter against the Eagles, but then just were dead after that.
Yeah.
The Chargers overall as a team are nowhere near the Eagles. I believe Justin Jefferson is going to have a 200-plus yard game like how Tyreek Hill had. I think that is honestly actually very feasible. Just Jefferson do what Tyreek Hill did. So, sorry, I was struggling there with the name.
No, you're
but
good.
It's going to be at home. It's going to be a desperate game. It's really hard to pick. Kirk Cousins is going to have to play lights out, and he's going to have to take a beating as well with Joey Bosa leading the way. I did that stupid San Francisco thing and that's how I remembered it. So it actually very pisses me off. For everyone watching now, I've always gotten the Bosa brothers mixed up. And Ryan gave me this dumb little tip how Nick Bosa plays with San Francisco. It pisses me off so much. But that is how you will always remember which Bosa brother is playing on whatever California team. I'm pissed right now.
I'm glad I can be of service here.
Yeah,
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, you can see my face turning red on how mad I'm getting. Yeah. But in general, though, let's get down to the picks because this is going to be such a close one. And I'm going to lean towards Minnesota. I'm going to lean towards Minnesota winning this game at home. I feel like the Chargers will find a way to just lose this game. But I also think, too, both teams are desperate. And in this home situation for the Vikings, I think they're going to come out on top 37-34.
Okay. I'm going to go the other way. I think the Chargers are going to come out on top here. I think they have more weapons in the sense of I think Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer. They have a better collective group of weapons, whereas like I don't really have faith in Alexander Madison to come out and be super competitive and make a huge impact on this game like I do Austin Eckler. I know they do have Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson, which is a really good 3-headed monster. But then for me, like outside of those skill players, the one that I really am intrigued by is how big of an impact do those Los Angeles Chargers edge rushers make on this game? Because to me, in a shootout, especially when the Vikings, I think, are averaging 35 rushing yards a game. They're really struggling in that aspect, which is like the Chargers' biggest weakness. And for me, I just think these edge rushers, they're going to play a much bigger impact because they're not going to be super concerned about the run. You also don't have to worry about Kirk Cousins really scrambling out of the pocket like you do. Even Tua, I think, is a better scrambler than him. And granted, Ryan Tannehill is not, but they approach the game much differently than the Minnesota Vikings do down there in Tennessee. So for me, I'm going to lean towards Los Angeles Chargers just because I think when push comes to shove in a passing shootout, I think that they're going to be the team that comes out on top because they have a really good room of skill position players as well as really good group of edge rushers.
I like it. Okay. And so I could see it going either way. This is fun too. This is the third game that we disagreed so far in week one, and we still got about half the other games to talk about. But yeah, it's absolutely fair point. It's just something about Chargers should have won week one. They should have won week two. I just have a feeling now this is just we're starting to maybe see the end of Brandon Staley, and that's where I think a lot of this starts down from. So
I will say if the Chargers do lose this one, this is the last time I'm picking them because I've picked them each of the last 2 weeks, and so they've let me down a couple times.
So you're saying I'm correct on my pick?
Maybe, we'll
see. I think that's what you're saying. So
I will say Austin Eckler is questionable, and if he does not play, I will probably switch my pick.
I'm glad you said that because you listed off all the things as well about the weapons that they have, and I think the Vikings have comparable weapons as well. So maybe a little bit different in the running back game. Like if Austin Eckler plays, he's the best running back on the field. But Josh Kelly compared to Alexander Madison, I don't know how big of a difference that is overall. But in general, though, both teams definitely have their flaws. I think it's going to be a great game, and I think the star players are going to have a day for sure.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a big football guys. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out on top in this matchup. Is it going to be the Los Angeles Chargers or the Minnesota Vikings? Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.